All right, welcome to VASA Sports. I'm Uri Hosea.
I'm Lance Falichongo.
And here we look at sports through a South Pacific lens. I'm all about sweating the technique.
I'm more about the data.
Today's show, as always, sponsored by VASAislandapparel.com for gear that represents the South Pacific Island languages and cultures accurately and responsibly. Put on for the culture. Catch the wave at VASAislandapparel.com.
And our guest today is Rheina Ale, a sports and media host, writer, and producer. She's a former D-1 basketball standout at San Fransisco University, started at guard for the American Samoa national basketball team in the South Pacific Games. She's the founder of Locked In, which helps 98% of college athletes prepare for their biggest challenge yet, life after college sports. Rheina, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We're so excited to have you on and to be able to talk with you and get your firsthand experience and your knowledge of some really big accomplishments that you've done. We want to start off by giving you the opportunity to just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah. So, wow, it's so funny. I'm not used to being on the other side of being interviewed. But yeah, so I'm Rheina. I'm from Carson, California. My background really is around basketball. I started playing at 7 years old in Carson for the different park leagues, and my dad was my first coach. And, I think at a very young age, that's when I developed my love for basketball. I knew that I really wanted to go further. I mean, my dream was to be in the WNBA. But, I obviously had a different path through basketball, but I'm thankful regardless. Went to Bishop Montgomery for high school, had a pretty successful high school career. Was fortunate enough to play with my sisters my senior year, so that was fun. All three of us were on the court at the same time. And then received a full scholarship to play for the University of San Francisco. So, overall, I identified with basketball for a while. And moving on from that was kind of tough, but I still play here and there. It's just not the same. So.
Yo, you played in the Drew League.
Yeah, I did. I think I might still play this is my last year. We're supposed to play again this year. Kind of working through finding a place to play, but I want to play again. So
yeah,
see how it goes.
She's a baller.
Oh, she really is.
It's hard.
Okay, so
even the girls playing now are just super tough, so it's hard to keep up. I'm not as young as I used to be.
quick question about growing up in Carson, California. You played for the Parks. Which park were you closest to? What was your home park?
My home park would be Scott Park.
Ooh.
Yeah. So when I first played, I remember my dad, we were at Veterans Park. Nice. And then after that was just one and done. I never played for Vets again. I think they had the gym at the time. I think it was only Veterans and Stevenson that had a gym. But yeah, Scott Park, I played there for a few years. That's my park.
Wait, hold up. So I don't know how basketball culture goes in Southern California, but every park got their own squad or something so that represents that hood or whatever was going on.
Yeah, I feel okay. So if you grew up in Carson, I feel the parks were really, I guess it depends on the sports too, but I know that there are probably, I don't even know how many parks, 7 or 8 parks in Carson, I think.
Yeah.
Around that. And it's all around your neighborhood or whatever that you grew up in. Now my home park where I grew up is next to Carson Park, but Scott Park holds a lot of tradition within my family. My mom used to work there in high school. My auntie worked there as well. So Scott Park and my mom's side of the family grew up in that area too. So that's just kind of where we were grounded. So yeah, I feel in Carson, depending on the area you grew up in, that's usually kind of the park that you identified and you played for. So
yeah.
Man,
yeah. So the parks are kind of different. It's outside of school. So it's T-ball, basketball, flag football. I think soccer. Yeah. I got ran in soccer a bunch. Callis Park down by the Toyota dealership. What's up? 223rd.
Callis.
223rd.
That's cool. That's a cool culture around sports growing up. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then AAU.
A lot of, sorry, go ahead.
And then you also played AAU?
I did. I played for Cal Sparks. I started with playing with a team called the South Bay Waves. It was a lot of girls from like South Bay, like Redondo, Bishop Montgomery, Maricosta, like we all in that area. But that team kind of shut down, and then I played the majority of my AAU career with Cal Sparks, and they're still a program now, actually. And I think they're one of the top programs right now, still too.
So,
And what was the like recruitment process for college? Like, how did you get to San Francisco University? Did you have to like, I remember hearing you had to like send out DVDs and to coaches and hope like just a whole game was enough that they liked it or something? Or
Yeah. Well, so
it's changed.
definitely. I mean, I mean, YouTube wasn't like a thing, and like I couldn't video editing, like that wasn't that wasn't my time. So I was literally like recording your whole game and sending it out. My recruiting process, I wasn't heavily recruited. I was in that kind of weird space in high school. So like in high school, I think my position was probably like a 2-3, because we were all around the same height. But in college, I was going to be, I had that weird position where it's like a combo guard, but I was too short. And then also the point guards usually are like shorter than me, but very, very quick. And I wasn't very quick or fast. Like that wasn't my game. So I had a very like odd position. But I wasn't heavily recruited. I wasn't like getting a lot of letters and people watching me play. But as far as like the recruiting process, I had it tough. It was really, really hard to be one of the best players on my team and then also in my area, and to not be recognized. It was very challenging for me. But San Francisco, how that came about, I believe I was actually off of I definitely sent over some film, but she came to my practice. Coach Chanel Starr, she came to my practice and watched me practice, and then she came to a game, I believe. And it was kind of like a long shot, to be honest. I know I could kind of tell when I was going into USF that I was like the last freshman. Like there was 5 freshmen that came in. I was the very last one. So I didn't really get the feeling that I was the prized freshman, you know? So I knew coming in, I had to work. So.
And Ira had a question about going to school in San Francisco.
Oh yeah. I knew a lot of Usos that went to City out there, into the Dons, but like they weren't really as focused. There's too many Samoans out there, and it gets really distracting. And I just remember growing up that nobody was going to class, but everybody was on campus, and I was like, where is everybody? like why are my cousins not what? So I guess how's that like going to school in the Bay? Focus must be as far as academics and your sport.
Mm-hmm.
You went in there saying that you knew you had to work, but then you're also a student as well, so you got to maintain all the work that entails. But then you're in the Bay and it's live. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of things to do. So I want to know how that experience was for you. Was it hard to focus on school and sports when there was a lot of other stuff going on, or did you know that you had to work on basketball, you had to work on your school, so none of that distracted you at all?
Okay, so one thing about me, I keep it real with everything, and Forrest is laughing at me, but okay, yes, it was very hard to focus in the Bay. I mean, I love the Bay, like I love it out there. But I grew up in a very sheltered home. My dad didn't let me do anything, and so I go to college. I'm like, wow, like I get to go to class if I want to. I practice, but. And then I'm like, oh, I can go out to a party and I don't necessarily have to ask for permission. Like, oh, I can eat whatever I want on my coach's dime. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I had that freedom, right? But I was reminded, even though, I was very sheltered and stuff. I mean, I know that growing up, so I'm thankful for my dad. It's like, yeah, he was tough on me, but I knew right from wrong. Yes. And I knew that like I could definitely go out to a party the night before practice, but I knew that like, okay, I need to get in earlier than I normally would because I have practice. Because I came there to hoop. If I don't perform, my scholarship can get taken away. So I knew anything out of anything that I've done at USF, it's like basketball always came first. Like, but I would recommend for anybody going to college, especially like anywhere you're going, just make the most of it. Have fun. Like you're here in college for like once the working world sucks. Like you don't want to be outside and like and go, you have work the next day and everything, you have those responsibilities. But like when you're in college, like you have all your teammates there, you have these different activities to go on campus, off campus, like make the most of it, but take care of business first.
Have fun, but take care of
Amen,
business. I
that's
like
dope.
it. Yeah,
one
do what
thing-
you
one-
want to
yeah.
do, but have the responsibility to put in more time if you have to. If you're gonna do that.
Absolutely.
One thing you guys gotta know about Rheina, you go out with Rheina, you're gonna have fun. Rheina's a very fun person.
But y'all gonna be in the gym in the morning.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
No, for real. Like I honestly, like I just made sure, like I love having a good time. I think that that's kind of most recently, like now that I'm in my 30s, I feel like I want my legacy to be, or like if you know me as a person, I want you to always have a good time. I want to leave a really great impression on you as far as like you feel inspired or if you want to have fun. I'm usually that friend that you'll call if you want to vent or have a good time. And I think that that's where I love to like see my friends happy or have a great time. I think because that's what life is all about, like is really just living it to your fullest. It took a while to get to this level of that mentality, but yeah, I mean, it's all about just being happy.
Amen.
You said that you would like eat on your coach's dime at scholarship ball at San Francisco. If the name and image and likeness ruling had been passed while you were still in college, would you and your teammates be eating? Would you be paying for the meals yourselves?
Listen, first, well, to be honest, when I played, Instagram wasn't really as, like, I think it just came out. So I had it, and I think it was my junior or senior year that Instagram like came out. And so it wasn't as popping. Like we're really on Facebook. But absolutely, like with everything that came out for college, this opportunity, oh my goodness, like I 100% recommend any college athlete take advantage of this, but also be mindful of who you work with, because understand that you're still young. And then there's adults here that have been in the working world and look at you as like, oh, this person's going to blow up. They can get me this, they can get me that. And their intentions might not be as real. So be mindful of who you work with and what you represent as well. Not all money is good money. Especially when it comes to the brands that you work with, like it's a lot that comes along with it. So, that's the only thing that I would say to watch out for with the new rule.
What are for Eri and Forrest too? What are some ways now that the name, image, and likeness ruling has been passed that college athletes are going to be able to eat and make money off of their name, image, and likeness? You have the video game stuff that's like a big kind of like type thing, group thing that NCAA has to organize. But then you have like DJ Uyunglele, who was just signed to Vayner Sports. He's going to make thousands of dollars before he even gets to become a professional athlete. But what are ways that these college athletes who, just having this opportunity, it's a very new opportunity. What are some ways they can capitalize on it? Rheina, what do you think?
So I'd say that when it comes to this rule, I haven't been doing a lot of like research on what are like the cutoffs, but I would think of it as influencer marketing. Like my background is in marketing, but you think of yourself as influencers. So brands will look to you to create a post and represent their brand, and you either get a percentage off of a flat rate of the post, or that you can get like a promo code, and any of the sales that you make, you get a percentage off of it as well. So that is, I feel like that would be the most popular way for the biggest ways for athletes to make the money. for them because they've established, I mean, there's so many athletes, like even high school kids these days have an enormous following right now. And it's great. It's dope. I think it's amazing that these kids are getting all of these, this recognition at a very young age, but that's the power of social media. Like it's great, especially with this new policy, but you know, definitely it's hard I don't know. I'm on the fence with it as well. There are some downs of social media.
Oh yeah.
Right. I think it's something that can easily be abused, right? So like
Right.
it has potential to do great things, it has potential to be destructive, right? But
Right.
as far as like the bigger schools, right? And that's what, you know, everybody's worried about, like the D1 schools, all the schools you see on ESPN as far as college is concerned. That makes sense that those players will make money. I went to a small D3 school in Oregon, Pacific University, right? And so like I guess the way I relate to it is I think that hometowns, like I'm from Modesto. If I was going to school up there, and that name, image, and likeness thing was popping, I could have been able to sell merch. You know what I mean? Even like while I was in school, make money off that. You know what I mean? So like I'm talking to some of my friends or some of my cousins, kids. You know what I mean? Like some of my friends' kids who are graduating high school, going to college. Right now I'm showing them how to make shirts. You know what I mean? Like, yo, make your merch. It's gonna be something that's a skill that you can, you know, whatever school you go to. You know what I mean? Even it doesn't have to be a popular school like LSU or Duke. You know what I mean? Any school you go to, you have the potential to be an influencer, like you were saying. And that's what I love about it. It kind of like equalizes that playing field, right? That like just because you go to a big school doesn't mean you'll be able to create a popular IG that you can make money off of, you know, that people will pay you for. Um, but it's also like tough. Like, man, these kids are gonna have to learn marketing super young, you know what I mean? And how competitive it is and how constant you have to be providing content and how interesting your content has to be. Like people are going to have to learn all that and then go to class for whatever they're majoring in, you know, like it's weird. It's like, it's a big opportunity and a big burden. And I can't wait to see how people will take advantage of it. Hopefully there's a lot more people that are trying to do good and, you know, people that are guiding, like, you know, there's definitely going to be people out there trying to be leeches, man. And I don't know. Hopefully I can see them before they make that kind of move. You know,
exactly. And even on the coaching staff of any of the schools or any of the for D3, D1, D2, whatever it is, I hope, you know, eventually that would be something coaches are going to be aware of and you know, be able to mentor their players of that world. And you know, social media or influencer marketing might be something brand new to the coaches, but that gives the coaches the opportunity to educate themselves on what they can teach their players. Because if you think about it, these kids are 18, 19 years old going into college, and it's like, okay, this is like a job, and it's like, well, what do you do with your money? Like, we blow our money, or like I mentioned, not all money is good money. You got to read through like what the contract would say, what would it be like, is there a contract involved, like, you know. So, you know, I believe that's probably going to happen with some of the coaching. I haven't talked to any of the coaches about that rule specifically, but I would assume that probably would be helpful because these players are looking to their coaches for that mentorship part of the game. So,
do you think teams will have to hire a financial advisor for their teams now?
But
or
that's what I was just about to say.
Some
I think
legal aspect of it, like
it's going to create a whole new position on a coaching staff, to where they're going to have someone look out for the players and what they're doing. And I know players don't want to hear it, but you're going to have someone there to have to regulate what they're doing, just so they don't get into trouble. Because like Rheina said, 18, 19 years old, you don't want to hear nobody tell you that, no, that's my money. You don't want to hear anybody tell you what to do with your money and how you're making it. So, but I think it'll create a new position either within the athletic department or the coaching staff. And I think it'll help the kids a lot.
Absolutely. I know that when I was playing, there's a compliance department. I think that there might be whoever is ahead of the compliance probably would have these meetings with each of the teams. I would assume it would come from that department and help to advise like the athletes on what to do. Maybe somebody outside of the coaching staff, if there's some different PR firms and agencies, I'm assuming they might bring on some new athletes a part of their program, because that's all they do is that they negotiate the deals while they're celebrities, influencers, they just post away. So that could probably be an avenue too. Like I said, the coaching staff. So I think there would be a lot of opportunity for member or mentors to help with the athletes making these decisions, but it's just hoping that it's the right person to do that.
Yeah, there's gonna take somebody with like really good integrity to be able to help and not only coach but mentor and guide some of these athletes who are going to be getting thousands of dollars to make sure that they spend it, save it, invest it responsibly, and not just, I mean, if you want to go out and blow it, you can do that, but here's a path that also provides financial stability later that you can try. Right. If that is offered, that education, that's going to be able to help people go far. I think about like the students that had to like work at the same time that they were playing, like whether it to be for rent or sending money back home or financial hardships, whatever they had to do. They can now, instead of working a part-time job, they can have this to build up some funds and be able to focus on their sport and their original passion, if that is what they want to do, instead of having to be off campus and away from the gym for 6, 18, whatever hours a week. And hopefully it leads to better athletes that are more focused on their craft and that can do better. Speaking of some of the best athletes in the South Pacific, the South Pacific Games, you were a representative. Papua New Guinea. Tell us what that trip was like, what it was like to represent for the country, to be out there amongst different Polynesian communities.
That's my captain, by the way.
It was great. I mean, I've never been to Samoa, and to be able to represent Samoa with my sisters was really, really special to me. I think also going out there and visiting some family members that I've heard of but I didn't really meet. I think that was great. Like one of my favorite parts of the trip in Samoa was when we went to, I think it was Forrest, it was like football camp or football. I think Francisco had his football camp out there, and then also we were playing and pickup outside with some of the local girls too. And it's like just to see how happy these kids were to just play and like just be outside and like with no care in the world. It's like we get so consumed with our phones, with like money, with like bills, problems, and it's like you go out. When I went there, it's like people are just genuinely like these kids are genuinely happy, like they're living off of what they have right now. And that's kind of what spoke to me. It's just like you don't need much to be happy. And I think that you get so caught up on that out here in the US. But once we came out, and island time is really a thing. God, that's another that's one thing. We would get emails at like 3 hours before, like, hey, we have practice today at 9 a.m. I'm like, okay. And we showed up at like 8:30, 8:45, because we're just used to being a little bit early, because if you show up on time, you're late. No, our coach would stroll in, including Forrest, would stroll in at like 10 a.m. And I'm like, okay, this is island time. This is what they're talking about. Okay, got it.
You just coming from McDonald's?
What'd you guys breakfast?
Yeah, I had to work in the morning. Still had a job to go to.
Yeah. So that was cool. But then when we went to New Guinea, that was an experience. Playing against other islands, man, I'll never forget that. It was just so like inspiring, like the support from back home and from Samoa, like the Facebook page. I mean, if we had like Instagram Live or something to stream the games, that'd been great. But I don't think the internet back over there was pretty good. But that was fun, and like getting this, just like the support. The Fiji team, they beat us in the championship, and I'll never forget that because it pissed me off. But that was definitely a game. Like the crowd was packed, and also because like that was like I didn't play professionally after college, so that was, and I still wanted to play, so that was like, it felt like I was still like playing and competing in front of like a big crowd, and like that just gave me that like adrenaline rush that I was missing in basketball. So that was definitely an unforgettable experience.
Man, that's beautiful to see how universal the sport of basketball is, right? That like these people you've never met before in the South Pacific, you know what I mean, playing the same sport as you were. How like were they practicing as hard as you were when nobody's around? Oh man, that's beautiful just to see. How was that game? I mean, man, it pissed you off, but like, but sorry to
It's
ask for
okay.
details, but man, it sounds
Okay.
super intense. I want to hear more.
It's okay. I'll never forget their point guard. I have no idea who she is. Her name,
Valerie.
anything. Who?
Valerie. I forgot her
Val-
last name.
Valerie, yeah. She was great. And I think she was a little bit older than us, but
I think she was already coaching at was it Fordham? And that was like her second year coaching already. But she was a seasoned player. She was, I mean, and I'm not hyping Rheina up, but next to Rheina, she might have been the next best player because Rheina was out there killing, but she just it goes to show that experience really counts for a lot.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, she was really smart. Really smart.
Really very smart, and I think that like that it kind of is like what I know now. Like if I would have known when I was an athlete, like back in college, like I would have been a lot better, because as a coach you study the game from a different lens. Like you're playing, all you think about like, okay, scoring, whatever, but as a coach you have to really understand your players. You have to draw up different plays. Like it's not only just one player that you're focusing on, and then you have to study like the opposing team. So seeing the basketball from like a player to a coaching standpoint, like that is an advantage in itself. She's just really smart, and I think that's also one thing that I would have to say about like, I mean, overall, I guess physically, I don't know if I'm the only one, but like, I'm not the fastest. I'm not the quickest. I can't jump. I'm not athletic, as my dad would say. But my dad was honest about that. But I was the smartest player. Like I knew basketball. My basketball IQ is very high. I work hard, and I knew the things that I could do, which is shooting and dribbling. That's something that I could control by practicing. So that helped me get to where I was, because I played to my strengths, not trying to like kill myself trying to run faster than these other guards. So
Hey, don't let Rheina fool you. She's a walking bucket.
She keeps trying to downplay how she's not fast at anything. I've seen the tapes. I've seen the buzzer beaters. I've seen you move. Like,
Hey, Rheina, Lance is all about the data, so he looks into numbers, man.
Yeah, that's what he did say.
Yeah,
I will Google it.
Yes.
So Forrest tells us that you're Samoan and Mexican, correct?
Mhm.
What are some, okay, so especially growing up in Southern California, big communities of both, what are some similarities between Samoans and Mexicans that you've seen in your life?
Don't save the parties.
I was gonna say the parties.
The fun.
The fun. But also just we're big at both sides. We're big family. Like our family is everything. And we have each other's back. And I think that is what like the biggest similarity of the two is just like my Samoan side, like we have our family parties, like we have every holiday it's together, and then same with on my mom's side, like family parties, holidays, but also very inclusive. So it's like if my grandma from my dad's side is having my grandma's 80th birthday, we had my mom's side of the family come too. Same with like for my quinceañera, I had a quinceañera, having all of my family there and like doing for like just different. I think we had, I forgot whose party it was, but just like different dances or different the music and stuff. It's just a very family oriented, both of them. The culture is there. But definitely I'd say we're also very inclusive with each other. And that's what I really love about both of my families.
talked about playing the sport. Then we read about Locked In, and so like really interested to hear about like it seems like it was your goal was to go to the WNBA, right? And so trying to find out the plan B for it. Like it sounds like it was tough, and then how you transitioned into media. We watched a couple of the Black Hollywood Live interviews, and that was really cool to see because me and Lance started this podcast, right? And um, I guess we weren't looking for it, so we didn't know how many other PI people that were already in the game. And so when Forrest had let us know about you, we were like, oh damn, people have been in this, bro.
That's
We
what we're
haven't
trying
been
to do.
looking. Right. I was like, yo, this is what this is where it's at. And so yeah, just want to know more about how that transition as far as finding out that entertainment, sports, news was something that you wanted to get into, or was that something you had planned for a plan B?
No,
Or was that something that you stumbled upon?
Yeah, no, I honestly didn't. Like, one thing about me is like I thought I was gonna play basketball professionally no matter what. Like, I didn't have a plan B. And I think that's what set me back in college, is like I was so focused on basketball. I had a good college career, but I struggled moving on from basketball because I didn't know what else to do. And so had I just like looking back and the opportunities that I had in the Bay Area, like definitely would have interned or something, or tried different things to figure out what else I'm into. How media and entertainment came about. It was a George Devine, he was our announcer. He needed a halftime show, and he was like, Rheina, why don't you just come and like interview your teammates? And I'm like, okay, because that's just my personality. I'm an outgoing person. I'm like, I like talking to whoever it is. And so I was like, cool, like I'll talk to my teammate. And then I had like this little Today with Ray weird show that I put on Facebook. I don't even think it's even there anymore, but like a day in a life type thing. And I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do after college. I just tried things. And I think that that's something that you definitely have to do moving on from college, is just try things. You don't know if you don't try it. Like, I knew that I like talking to people. I knew I'm a people person. Why not try media? Like, whatever, And so, and I tried it. I like it. I like, the whole industry in itself, but I've moved on from that. I'll still do interviews and stuff if I'm needed, but I've moved on from that. I've worked in marketing, and I started to learn different things. I'm a nerd at heart. I really like learning about different trends and how to build someone else's brand. So, but I wouldn't know if I didn't try it. How Black Hollywood Live, AfterBuzz TV, how that came apart was through a connection. And it was just, hey, like, if you want to try out here's an opportunity, and just go for it. I didn't go to school for broadcast journalism. I just had a communications degree. But I just went for it and I got it, and I was able to build my skills. As far as, it was an internship essentially. And so like talking to other celebrities or whoever it was, like that came a part of AfterBuzz TV and Black Hollywood Live.
That's dope.
Dan Thomas, Chuck Dizzle. You got to interview. You also interviewed Tanel. You got some like great stories.
See, that's another thing. It's like, I feel I know so many people, and I've met so many people, and it's like what I really liked about when I had that opportunity to bring on Tanel, and then there was another rapper from Carson, Reason. This is before when he was up and coming, and another friend of mine, Akil. I wanted to bring on, and then Chuck Dizzle, like I wanted to bring people that I know have stories that might not have had that crazy celebrity million follower status, but they have stories to tell. Their journeys are very unique. Tanel is huge in the Polynesian community already, but there's more to her than her voice, same with Reason, same with Chuck. And so that's why I liked it, is just I really am fueled by stories, and not just by celebrities. Everyone has a story. And you can learn something and find motivation in everyone's unique story. So that's why I liked doing it. Like, I can talk on FaceTime and have that go on, I don't know, on social media or something. It's just, you don't have to limit yourself to being a celebrity to be interviewed, because you can learn something about your story, might touch somebody else and you don't even know it, so that's why I liked doing that as, for that part of my career.
That is 100% how this started. Is like we saw something and we were like, we want to do that. Let's do it. And then Forrest was like, Rheina's already doing that. It was like, well, let's ask her how to do it because that's a great example. And like representation, not seeing something, but then seeing that something is possible, hearing through someone else's story and journey that you can do something, and then getting those things off the ground and producing great things for the community is what we are aiming to do. So now you're in marketing, and just like as like a super deep dive, we've also, or Eri has started up a clothing apparel, island apparel company, and there's a bunch of those target audience marketing numbers. You work with Annex and do Social Bridge, and they have like, how do you target? Is that all just like an algorithm, or do you need to like find certain areas to get good target audiences to match up?
Yeah. So Annex is actually a software company. I made that shift just recently in 2019, but Social Bridge was a marketing tool that our developers built. And I was like the main person to kind of train my clients on and like demo the program. But I did use my marketing background as an opportunity to help me excel in this career. Marketing has changed over time. I think the trends change pretty much every month. There's always something new that's announced. I think it was today or yesterday where Twitter just announced that the fleets, like the stories, they're removing that and they're working on something else. And they just launched that. I'm not sure when, but that
less
took
than
over.
A year?
Yeah, definitely less than a year. But if you haven't heard anybody on Clubhouse anymore, huh? Because of fleet, because Twitter came out of Twitter Spaces, and that's essentially what Clubhouse was doing. But those different trends, you'll find out like on a daily basis, like you just have to try and like keep track with it. And so I think with like marketing too, it's like, just don't force it. I feel like the need to be viral is going to stress you out. Like, honestly, because it's like, you don't know what's going to be viral. One post can be liked by somebody, like the right person, and then it's out there. Just authenticity is really important in social media marketing. Just be who you are as a brand. Just post the real content, like the PI stories and the representation. It definitely does matter. Like, I feel like as a Polynesian community, I can go on about this, but Polynesians are very powerful. Like, we have a huge opportunity to make noise in any space that we want to be in. And I think the one thing that we need to work on as a community, and I might get some heat for this, but one thing that we need to work on as a community is supporting one another when we're on the come up, not when we're up.
Amen.
Hey.
Because, the different opportunities that I've been given, it's all about like the connections that I've made. And like, I'm super thankful of it. If I ever get an opportunity, you'll never see me, like, I won't just take it and think like, oh, I got it because I have this many followers, or I'm Rheina, or I'm like, whatever. I'm grateful. Thank you for referring me, or thank you for thinking about me. That doesn't take a lot of time. And even if it's somebody else in the same space, there's room for all of us to win. And I think that is something that, as a Polynesian, our community can do a lot better on. It doesn't matter whoever has another podcast or another host, and they might be Polynesian. We're not competing against each other. There's no competition. It's just this podcast, this host, and this podcast, this host. Like, you're developing this is your motive, and then this is my motive. But how powerful can we be if we all support each other on the come up versus, oh, Troy Palmo, that's everybody's cousin, or wait, did I say Troy Palmo? I feel like from Troy Palmo, that's everybody. Oh, The Rock. Rock is my cousin. He's my cousin.
Uncle Rock.
Tanella is my cousin too. He's my cousin's cousin. But because they made it there, now there's the support. But we need to support each other on the way up. like I said, I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, but I mean, I said what I said, and I'm sure there's people that probably agree with me. But you know, it is reality. Like, we could be so much more powerful if we would work together on the come up. So
she said we should support people before they're famous. I hate it. These, them haters, they're not going to be able to. You're good.
Let's be, like I said, I'm real. Like,
right. Real, yes.
I'm gonna be 100. Like, it just is not, like, I get it as far as like competing and wanting to, you know, be better and like improving. That's totally fine, but there is just space for everybody to succeed. And you know, you don't dim your light. What is it? Don't dim your light if you, by putting someone else's, so I don't know what that saying is, but it's real.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Putting other people down isn't going to bring you up. Bring everybody up. Let's rise the tide.
I appreciate the fact that, like, when you said you got to do interviews with Tanel and Reason, that you wanted to take all of the glamour away, right? All that esteem that they're known for, and let people recognize their personal story. That's I really like that, because it takes the focus like away from the end goal, right? Mm-hmm. And like you don't get desensitized by unfavorable circumstances as far as your end goal is concerned. You want people to look at the grind, look at people coming up, look at people putting in the work right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, let them tell you their vision, their goal, you know, that they're working towards. You know what I mean? They don't have to make the $1 million yet. Like, look at them making this 100,000 right now, or just this 10,000 right now. Like, that's where people fall in love with their grind, as far as any grind is concerned. And man, I love that. I can see how that affected your work ethic and like gave you a great ability to pivot, no pun intended. But that's super dope. I like that.
Yeah. And even like the one thing about you guys saying that you want to, like, the podcast or PI and then in that space, and you're like, we want to get there, we want to be at that level. Well, you guys are already one step ahead of so many people by doing it. A lot of times people are talking about what they want to do, but they're not actually doing it and putting themselves out there and like putting some action. That's like the biggest things. Like, you can talk about your goals and you can have like a plan of action, but if you're not taking a step forward doing it, then where are you going to go? Like, direction is so much more important than just getting to that, like that level right now. It's not going to happen right now unless you take that one step in launching the podcast. So you guys launch the podcast, you're already a step ahead from people who don't, you know?
Yeah.
Aww.
And
we planned starting this podcast for like 2 years.
But you're here, you know?
And now we started.
But it's off the ground.
And now we started.
Yeah, man.
But imagine the podcast that we have when we're able to discuss when Rheina's on the front of like Forbes magazine, you know, running her Fortune 500 company, and how far your podcast will come along. You know, and you can say you interviewed Rheina before she got to that spot. And then when Rheina comes back on, she can say she was on the show before you got to where you guys are at.
Right, when we was on the grind.
I want everyone to win. So
man, I feel that.
Tell us about
all the media work that you've done this far. How did that? So it's really dope talking, like hearing you talk about your vision for people, for the world, for building your own brand, your own business. Was Locked In something that you thought was needed? Mm-hmm. Like, or was it something that you thought you needed, and you were like, oh man, this is a perspective that not many other people see as far as getting ready for after college. You know, do you tell people to get ready for after college, like when they get into college, you know what I mean? Or like, like teaching them like, yo, the minute you get into college, have a plan B, have plans, have options, you know, like how did that come about as far as Locked In is concerned?
As far as Locked In is concerned, like I didn't officially put it into like a business until last year and the brink of the pandemic. And I hesitated a lot in starting it because I didn't know which avenue I wanted to take. I'm not sure. At first, I wanted it to be an online community / blog, but then I also wanted to be a little bit more hands-on. And then I wanted it to be a podcast. So it's like there's different ways that like I wanted to take it, and it was, to be transparent, it was very intimidating for me because I just wanted it to be perfect. And that's why I said, like, you guys have that one step by starting it. And for me, it just brought me back because I'm like getting pulled into these different avenues. But I'm still developing it. I'm taking my own time with it because like the world has changed since that, like the pandemic hit. Events aren't as, we don't know if we're going to be on another lockdown soon. A lot of what Locked In, I wanted it to be as an event space where I'm hosting panels of former athletes and educating current athletes on life after sport. Life after you move on from your sports, to get them to start thinking about things currently. But then with the new NIL policy, that could get them to start, the athletes to start thinking about them in high school. So, like the world changes. And so I think with me, any opportunity that I get to talk to an athlete, either current athlete or high school, or current college athlete, high school, even these little camps that I'll do with my dad's brand, if we do any like camps or mentorship programs or something, I'm talking like, okay, you don't have to necessarily tell kids like, oh, who wants to be a professional athlete, or who wants to go to college, or who wants to do this? Like, have those conversations early on. Like, oh, so what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? They're like, I want to be in the NBA. Okay, cool. So what else do you like? Like, what is your favorite subject at school? Like, what do you like to do? Do you like to draw? Do you like to dance? Like, have those conversations with your kids at a young age. So whenever I'm put in that position to coach, that's when I'm starting to talk to these kids, because they're great. They're learning, they're sponges. So it's like, if you start off that conversation at a very, very young age, they're going to start thinking about that and growing and growing and growing. It's unfortunate that a lot of kids are going to be on their phones or on their iPads these days. So a lot of the information that they're going to be consuming would be online. And so, that's why it's so important to be just in your kids or your cousins or whatever, their heads at a young age, talk about like, hey, there's more to life. Sports, great. Yes. Work hard. But is there anything else that you're interested in?
Man. Yo, that's hitting me hard, man, just because I got little cousins who are getting into high school now, and like they're involved with sports, and just seeing them like grow and seeing them get into trouble sometimes, you know what I mean, or who they're around. It's like I'm not even their parent, but like I understand now why my aunties and uncles and what I mean, my mom and dad was so like, yo, who you hanging around, who you with. And now, I'm looking at the younger generation as far as, man, just all that stuff that could distract them from a goal.
They're exposed to a lot, like online now, because my generation, we were outside, like we were getting our hands dirty. We were playing at the parks until the lights came off. We had to go home. We had like our weekends packed with like sports stuff. I didn't have my phone. Like I didn't even think I got a phone until like I was in eighth grade, but that was just like I only text. I had like 10 texts a month, and it was only, and I can only call one number, like my dad. So it's like internet.
Oh, you had the Motorola Butterfly.
Probably like.
Rheina had a sidekick.
That's when texts were like 265 a message.
Not call, but
I had a sidekick in high school.
Rheina had a sidekick.
But honestly, my dad knows this now, but I hid the sidekick for 3 years. My boyfriend.
3 years?
My boyfriend at the time, because I would get my phone taken away from my dad, and he like, who are you calling after 7? I'd like lie to him. I was like, it's my friend Miranda, and it was really a secret boyfriend. And he bought me a sidekick, and I had one of those prepaid. You go to 7-Eleven, you got the seven day thing, plug it in, and I would aim him on the side. I'm like all day long. So Yeah, and I hid that from my dad. Oh my, I hid that from my dad for 3 years. My siblings would blackmail me if they I'm so dad about your sidekicks. I'm like, okay, here, whatever.
You were using trap phones better than people in the trap. Yo, that's crazy.
We made it work. That was that young love.
Rheina also, not just the kids that she sees now playing sports. Rheina's the leader of the pack of 5 of you, Rheina?
Mm-hmm. There's 5 of us. I'm the oldest.
So and it's a sports family. I mean, they all excel at every sport they played. The 3 of you guys played. The 3 girls played basketball. I mean, your brothers played basketball, but they played college football.
Yeah, they're more football. They play basketball like during the parks, but I think they hated basketball so much because they had to be at our games all weekend. My dad would like throw us in his big truck with like sandwiches made, and they had to bring their Game Boys, and they hated being in the gym all day long. So I think that they just hated basketball because of us. So they're football players for sure. I mean, my dad's a football player, so like he knew that was gonna happen. So
your dad went to University of Oregon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my dad was a Duck.
Bunch of ducks out here. Where I'm in Portland.
So you're in Portland, okay.
Yeah, so a bunch of
Oregon Portland. The food out there is amazing.
Oh my gosh.
That's pizza in the country. Apparently, that report came out. It said Portland has the best pizza. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait, so you were saying in your senior year you played with there was all 3 of you guys on the court, your sisters? Yeah. How was that? That sounds like a Disney movie. What was that Disney movie called?
With the twins?
The twins.
I know you're talking about double.
Yeah. Did you do the move?
Did you pass it?
Right.
I was like, what?
You make those chili cheese sandwiches? Oh man, I'm so fat. That's what I remember from the movie.
I just remember that move. I was like, what?
What are
how was that? How was like all 3 of you guys on the court? That must have been super fun.
It was so fun. I mean, at the time, like we would like, I think I had my grandpa's old Jeep, and like we had like 6 a.m. practices, and I just got my license, and so like packing all of it, we had all of us in the car. Like I had to take the streets to school because my poor Boris, that's what I named his car. He wasn't very fast, so he couldn't be on the freeway. But just like going to practices together, like just, the tournaments, the trips, like, and then also on the court too, like looking back at that, like, yeah, that not a lot of sisters have played with each other. Like there's usually like a big gap, or like one sister would be on like JV or something, but to have all 3 of us on the court. I think we did had all 3 of us on the court a few times. But it was fun. I mean, I would never, that's why playing for American Samoa was also fun too. Cause I remember that. And that was something that I
had all 3 of them on the team. So
yeah.
Is it, you talked once about knowing your teammates and which ones you can talk to a certain way and which ones you have to approach differently. What are your sisters like? Are you able to yell at them?
Forrest can talk about that because
not a dull moment.
Oh my God, not a dull moment. My sisters probably hated playing with me because I mean, okay, yeah, I'm an older sister, and like I can talk to, I just, the emotions get the best of me, and they're my sisters, so it's like I kind of just like, I don't care, you're not going to do anything to me, so I'll just say what I have to say. I mean, I apologize for the most part, but yeah, I mean, but the thing about it is they know me, so like they know to just ignore me. Like they'll be mad, but they'll just like let me talk and just be like, all right, Rheina's having one of her little episodes. Like, let me just shut it, like just in one ear, out the other. I think Desiree just like threw a ball at me one time. Like it just, we used to get at it in Samoa, but definitely not as much in high school, but when we were older, because it's like our basketball IQ is different now. So like Kristen played for a specific team and so used to a certain style of play, and then I'm used to a different style of play, and I'm the point guard. So like, of course, I have my petty moments where I didn't pass her the ball, or like I was like, Forrest, sub her out right now. Like, there's so many conversations like that. But it's fun. I don't think we'll ever play again though. Like, there's no way that we all three of us would play again. I'm pretty sure Kristen's not playing anymore. Desiree, no. But I'm still going. So,
Coach Forrest, what's your favorite Alice sister memory?
Oh, it was in practice, of course. I know Rheina she didn't think that Des was playing hard at practice, and she stopped dead in practice and just yelled at Des, and Des looked at her like, I don't give a fuck.
Stop the practice?
Yeah, it was like this. Rheina's intense, and Des was just like, whatever.
That is Desiree and Rheina for sure, 100%.
Des stopped playing dead on. She's like, sub, and went and sat down. And then I had Rheina all tournament long, just at a timeout. She'd be like, hey, take my sister out. I'm like, hey, don't, I can't take your sister out. That's our shooter. She's not, take her out. She's not making it.
I guess I'm the more emotional sister, and I'm very, very like I'm very oh my God, I'm just so intense when I play. Like, I'm a very different person on the court. Like,
oh yeah, Rheina point guard and Rheina off the court, two different people.
Like,
two different people.
For sure. Like, I'm a complete, if you're not my teammate, or if you are my teammate, like, my intensity level is just on it. I just, you're not going to outwork me. And like, that's why Desiree and I, because I take practice seriously.
Very.
And so, like, I remember that. I yelled at her so bad.
She said, hey, if you're not going to practice, then go sit the fuck down. I was like, okay, Ted's just like, whatever.
And she sat down because
she's like, I will.
She went and sat down. She's like, whatever. She didn't just sit down like outside. She sat on the court first, then got up and went and sat outside. I was like, okay.
She said, bet.
Said, all right. You want me to sit down? I want to sit down.
Yep. That's funny. I remember that.
But Rheina's the point guard that you need on your team. If you ever need a point guard, Rheina's the point guard you need on your team. That's what you need. Half of the girls in Papua were dead scared of Rheina. Rheina would come down, knock down the three, D you up on the other side, look at you and tell you that you can't score, and then you wouldn't score. And the girls would be like, damn it, I can't score. And then it would be game over. Game over.
Who would you say is your NBA or your WNBA player comparison?
Oh, comparison? Ugh. I mean, I'm
hearing Rondo. I'm hearing like you want to be out there and like in people's shit.
Diana Taurasi. I love Diana. Has always, like, remember she played at Norco, and my dad would take me to go watch her play. I think I was in high school too. I think I had to be a freshman or something. And it's like, my dad like would tell you Diana Taurasi, like, and so I saw her play one time. I was like, she is so good. And like, I loved how intense she played, and she was a big shit talker as well. And so, like, to be honest though, I wasn't this player until I started playing for Cal Sparks, because I played for like a very like South Bay Waves, and then I played for another league, and it's very like, team bonding, like, don't, whatever, right? Very nice, very nice. When I went to Cal Sparks, my first practice, I was like, Dad, I'm not going to last here. Like, there's no way. I stepped on the court and they're D'ing me up full court, like at practice, talking shit, like, leave that pretty shit at home, Ray. Like, welcome to, like, I'm talking like it was intense, and like, and that they would like joke around with you, but sometimes it kind of hurt. Like, I was like, damn. And so I would just be quiet, and then they're like, you're not going to say nothing back. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to get beat up. Like, I don't know what to do. So it's like that, like being like, that's the part that like really developed me. And I talk about that because some of the girls that I play with, the Cal Sparks, I play in the Drew League. And I'm like, I wouldn't be this player that I wasn't in if I didn't play for Cal Sparks, because they brought out like the dog in me. Like, you have to have that thick skin and that competitive nature to hoop. I mean, I'm sure it is for other sports, but like, you really have to have that, like, that like nobody can touch you type attitude, and that mentality of like the intensity. And so I wasn't this player until I played for Cal Sparks, and then it just like, you can't shut me off on the court.
Oh, that's dope.
That travel, they did you up the first day. They were like,
Oh,
"Get
I
her."
was like that. I don't think I could play here. I don't think I'm meant to be here. Like, no, suck it up. You're gonna play with them. I'm like, all right, fine. And then I would hate going to practice. And then I started like speaking up, and like they would joke with me, and I'd say some shit back. They're like, okay, Rheina, like you're getting there. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm getting there.
Man, that is a movie, man.
Yeah,
That's dope, yo.
And don't think it's just her opponents that get it. Her teammates get it too, but it's to uplift them. I know some of her teammates used to look at me like, "Hey, are you gonna let her talk to me like that? That's your point guard. What you gonna do?"
that's your captain.
You know what I mean?
Me and Tepessa were really like,
Oh my god.
Ooh.
This is like my best friend. That's Rheina's best friend. Shout out to Tepessa. Her wife plays for the Aces. Chelsea Gray. If you don't know,
Chelsea
she's an
Gray,
all-star
nice.
this year and an Olympic player. But yeah, her and Tepessa would go. Oh my gosh! Remember when Tip got blocked and Rheina was like, "You gonna let her get? You gonna let her get blocked like it? You gonna let her get blocked?" I was like, "Don't do it. Tip's about to suck you in the face."
Tip would tell me the same thing. She's like, "Are you gonna let her go off on you?"
Yup.
And I'm like, oh my, but then we would also like team up on our teammates too, or just be like, are you seriously? You know, like, where are you gonna play some defense? Like, we knew how to get on each, like, I don't know, we just were similar in that case of like intensity. Like, you can get on me because I need that. If I'm playing like shit, you need to get on me, call me out. Same with her. I mean, she was.
But it wasn't like they were breaking each other down. They were obviously building each other up. It's, you know, everybody knows how to build each other up, and that's how they built each other up.
For sure.
And it trickled down to the rest of the team. You know, they picked up on it, and no one wanted to disappoint her and Tepessa, but mostly they didn't want to disappoint Rheina. So when Rheina spoke to them that way, they knew that it was just her trying to get them to play better.
Yeah. I mean, I also had to like really catch myself a lot too, because I mean, I'm not proud. I know certain things that could have been a little bit more easier on the girls from the islands too, because they're not used to that type of high intensity ball. I think I just get caught up in the moment. But again, like if you know the point guard Valerie or whatever, she's a coach now too, so she understood that. Like me looking back at it now, like I would be a lot different in my delivery. Hi Noah.
What up, Uso?
No, you next on this interview, bro.
Say you next to get interviewed. There you go.
Who lines you up, Us?
Oh man, we got a great barber, man. You come to Portland. All right. Yes, sir.
Tell them we're hooping on Thursday. Oh, that's tomorrow. Okay. Man, what else was it? South Pacific Games, Coach Forrest. Rheina, any other upcoming projects or recommendations you have, things that are coming up for you? What's new?
Honestly, definitely going to try and like regroup and figure out what I want to do with Locked In, with everything going on with the new NCAA policy. I think for me personally, the pandemic really kind of forced me to look at myself and get myself, like my mental health, my physical health, all in order. So I think that like, if I were to say like, what's next for me, if anyone is listening, or I would hope that it would be more of a message for them to focus on yourself, you're improving yourself mentally and physically. I think that I learned a lot about myself in the pandemic. It forced me to stay still. I think that I was so used to hustling and like, no days off, grind, all like late nights, early mornings. That's actually very unhealthy. And like just working. And, I really developed a passion for like fitness and like working out really hard and like just eating better, taking my vitamins, like doing different things like to help me. Because if you physically feel better, like you will perform at a better level. So I think that's honestly what I'm focused on right now is like, yes, I have done amazing things in my career. I flipped from like broadcast to marketing to software. I still play in basketball, but I never really focused on my mental health and my physical health until this past year. And I don't think I would if it wasn't for the pandemic. So I'm kind of thankful for that. So I would hope that we all as a community get to that, because it's like being vulnerable and expressing yourself of like, okay, I need to mentally get better. Like that's not a weakness. That's like actually going to help you out so much more if you understand that part of you. I mean, it just makes me feel better when I'm, around my friends and like, okay, let's have a good time. I'm like, okay, let's have a great time, because I actually am happy on the inside. I'm not masking it. Like, I'm not like, oh, like deep down inside, like I'm struggling. No, I'm actually happy with everything right now. And I'm able to do it versus like going outside, being happy, and then coming outside and coming back inside and like crying or something, So it's like, that is more of my goal right now, is just to continue this level of self-love, mental and physical health and growth, and really just taking time for what matters and putting myself first in that aspect versus just like career and making money. So
nice. Do
Amen.
you be happy.
Right. That's a beautiful way to see the blessing in all that struggle, that chaos. You know what I mean? It's easy to be weighed down by it. You chose to focus on yourself.
I didn't get that. I didn't reach that level. I didn't realize that until like this year, until post pandemic. But during the pandemic, it was very hard. I'm a people person, and I grew up in a household with 7 people, and I live by myself. So it's like I'm forced to be still, and I'm forced to be by myself. And it's like, you couldn't even go anywhere, because I'm used to like, okay, I feel like shit, or I'm like hurt by this, I'm gonna go to the bar, or I'm gonna go to, I don't know, somewhere else, my friend's house. You couldn't, because it wasn't allowed. The pandemic was here. So I didn't realize that until like this year after the pandemic hurt, and was just like, wow, I really grew, really felt that emotion. I really let it sit with me. I learned what it's teaching me, why I'm hurt by this, why that pissed me off. And so, that's I think that's a blessing that came out of it that I didn't realize until now. So I'm hoping that, everyone can take some time to like develop themselves, because in the future, just in whatever you do, it's just gonna be so much more helpful.
What would you say the easiest improvement that you've learned that people can do to improve their mental health?
So I'd say, so like I would say expressing themselves whenever an emotion hurts them. So, for example, if you get your heart broken or something, you're very sad about something, right? The type of person I would be, like, I'd go outside, I would go out, I'd be around my friends, or I'd be with somebody. Like I just didn't want to feel sad, because I felt like, being sad was like a sign of weakness, and I think a lot of it had to do with being an athlete. Like I've like trained myself to like mask my emotions. If something hurt me off the court, but on the court it's game time, that shouldn't fool you. But then when you're off the court, that's when it gets to me. So I'm so used to like consuming my mind to do something to forget what I'm feeling. So I think what helped me is like sitting still, and really forcing myself to not go out, to not do those things that would help me feel better in the moment, because it's not helping me in the long run. So writing things out, like, okay, what really happened? Why did that really hurt me this bad? Like journaling. I like journaled a lot during the pandemic. Like I would write out like, this hurt me a lot because of what happened in my childhood, or what happened in this relationship, or, and once you express that and you get it out of your system, you're like, wow, you realize so much more. So I'd say that would be the healthiest thing. Or like one of the tips into improving your mental health is like, if something hurts you, if something pisses you off, really ask yourself why, versus trying to like forget that feeling, or just try not to feel that feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's big in our Polynesian community as well. We're just like we held ourselves to a standard to be perfect, to be that example, to be better than another family, and like, perform, and anything that negative is like all hush hush. You don't want that to get outside of it. You don't want to bring shame. you don't want to bring shame onto your family, right? And I think that like that's like that shame you want to be, but it's not, you're human, you know, like you have to understand that like you're going to make mistakes. And I struggled with that for a while. It's like, not only did I grow up in this culture, which isn't a bad thing, it's just who we were. Like it's just a I don't know if this has, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but it kind of goes back. We went to when we went to Samoa, and I was learning about my grandma's village, Vaitongi. Forrest, don't say anything why they call me Tutu. But you know, we were learning about the history of Vaitongi. And I remember my cousin out there, he was telling us that like that Vaitongi was it's a very, I remember a bell or something, they would hit it and you had to come back inside the house because they were on curfew. And you know, that village, from what we were told, that they're very like strict, very like following the rules. And my grandma is from there. My grandma is strict. My grandma is a true Samoan grandma, like you. Wow, Fa'atulu Ale she's the head at the church. She is the most respected woman. Like she's intense. And I was wondering like why, you know, but from what I was told, there was a fire that the village like took out the village. And the story is it's because God sent the fire because that village was there was all of like the bad stuff going on. They were like doing some really bad stuff, wiping out the village and then starting fresh and all over, right? And so that like different stories like that is what we were told in Samoa, and we're like, wow, like this is, a lot of that stuff made sense. Because I look at my grandma and how she is, she's very, very strict. She's very like church, school, sports, if that, but church comes first. And you know, and we think about it within the Polynesian community, like, yes, we want to be successful, we know what we need to do, but we are human, we make mistakes. But if we make mistakes, it's all within the family. Don't tell anybody, nobody can know, don't bring shame on the family. Like, and that is why I feel like we had that kind of pressure on us to be perfect. And I do think it's a cultural thing. But if you do a lot of like that's what I learned about myself. And I had to figure it out, because not only am I half Samoan, but I am the oldest and I'm a woman. So it's like, there's all of this stuff that like the pressure on me to be this like role model, but it's like, okay, I'm only human. I can only do so much, you know? So.
And that's beautiful, man. I can't wait to see how you bring that energy towards building the Locked In moving forward, man. That's rare. It's rare to reach that level of self-awareness, you know, and like the fact that you'll be around younger people who are gonna need that growing up. That's dope, yo. That's super dope.
Thank you.
The strong, stoic, quiet type is kind of like the Samoan niche. It's like what they go for. It's finding like weakness in showing up or having emotions is crazy, because like you said, we're humans. Like we're like islanders and like tough as coconuts, but also things make us sad. Things make us happy. Things make us like not want to wake up and like go get out of bed today. Sometimes I think just having those conversations is going to make it a little bit more normal and easier for people to accept that. Like, you can cry. Go ahead. You're good. Like, feel those things, process, write them down, look at them, get through it. Don't let it sit, manifest, and like bottle up until you're angry and punch the walls.
Right, exactly.
Let it out.
Yeah, don't push me, especially as a Samoan man. If you want me to bottle up and express myself, I might punch you, might hurt somebody. Someone's in the hospital, you know? So please don't push me to that level. Like that's not where we want to be. But yeah.
Yeah, culturally, in our culture, they don't teach us to go through things. And I think that's what we need to teach kids, is that if you're going to get past something, you got to go through it first. You can't just put it behind you or not think about it like they teach you now. If you don't go through them, you'll never get past them.
They teach you to get over it, not get through it, bro.
Exactly.
And that was super. That's man.
Get over it, or you're a man and you shouldn't cry about things, or you shouldn't. You're the oldest. You need to be a role model. You need to be perfect.
You need to be stronger for everybody.
You need to be married at a certain age and have kids. You need to make sure you need to be at Sunday school every Sunday and make sure that you're clean, you look the best. Don't drink alcohol because like just we have this like just these standards that we met because of we have that stigma, like you said, our culture. But I mean, I think that's just helpful to just have these conversations, these open conversations with other people and other polys to, encourage each other to get out of that comfort zone and like be that example and not be afraid to step out of that and go from there.
What are some ways we as Polynesian men can show up more for Polynesian women and female athletes?
I would say to continue to do what you're doing as far as like being open to reaching out to other women and wanting to uplift them. Like I said, I think that there's a lot of, we talked about like competition on the come up or outside looking in, like you might not think, oh, this person will never come on our podcast, or oh, they didn't reply, or they didn't answer their email or something, like they don't like us, or like they think they're too good. Like that whole they think they're too good mentality can block so many blessings. Like I can't not even like stress that enough. It's like the outward opinion, how somebody carries themselves is not mean that they think that they're too good for that. And I can say that because I've gotten that so many times. It's like, I'm confident in who I am, but I'm also a great person. You just didn't even give me a chance to get to know me based on how I look, or, the fact that I'm half someone, I'm not full, and I think that is something that like you guys can, like Polynesian men can do, is just continue to reach out to these women and giving them the platform to express themselves and their stories. And then even if it's also on close, like on the side of things, if like, you hear something about someone else, like women can do the same thing. It's like, well, do you know that person? Do you really know that person? Or are you going off of what you've heard or what you've seen? Because you don't really necessarily know that person. And then just like shut that drama down right then and there. Because I feel like that's what is blocking us from growing as a community, is that we're making our own opinions off someone based off of success or how they look, and that's what's blocking us from like growing. So
that's beautiful.
Okay, the last couple of questions. Predictions for the NBA Finals.
Okay, I mean, obviously I'm mad my Lakers are out, but
right. Yeah,
so upset about that. But I want Chris Paul to win. So I'm gonna go for the Suns. Devin Booker has been my favorite guard for a while. Like outside of Kobe, I've always really loved his game. So that part, but also because I know that Chris Paul has worked so hard to get here, and it's a good chance. So I'm gonna go for them.
Nice.
What do you guys think? Suns or Bucks, and how many games?
I Suns in 4.
5?
5.
It's 2-1 right now.
Oh, there's some.
Bucks could tie it up tonight, but I mean, if they tie it up tonight, then it's a whole nother series. If the Suns go up 3-1, then it's like just waiting until they get that 4th win. Eri, who do you think?
Man, I just want to see what the Jazz do next year. Ooze.
He's a transplant Jazz fan.
Really?
No, the only reason I'm a Jazz fan is because I was living up there in Portland, right? When me and Lance was working up there, and all my family down here is Warriors fans because we moved from the Bay to the Valley, and I just wanted to be different. And so
that's pretty different.
I had every family function, like everybody wearing the Warrior gear. I'm like, nah, it's Jazz. You see the.
I've never actually met a Jazz fan, so you are first like actual like I've met a Jazz fan, like where like, oh, I'm repping the Jazz. I've never even heard that. So
no,
wow.
It's the longest running gag in my life right now, but it's like I started repping them when they were doing super bad, right? Like downtown we was all working, and then like they started doing better, and everybody's like, hey, you right, did you check the Jazz? And I was like, oh,
they're doing
good.
Did they play
now?
today?
bet, bro, been a fan. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta keep this going. You know what I mean? Shoot.
Suns in 5. Rheina, in closing, is there anything we missed? Is there any questions you have for us? Anything else that you have?
No, I think I talked so much, way too much, probably my bad.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, it was great. I think that thank you for interviewing me. Thank you for letting me talk about like my personal life and being open and having an honest, transparent conversation about struggles, about growing through a career, and then also about our Polynesian community. I think that's definitely something that I feel so passionate about, is making a difference in our world, but mostly like just within our culture as well. See so many talented people out there that are Polynesian, and I just want us all to win. So
there you go. Rheina Ale, thank you very much for coming on, spending time with us, and blessing us with your experience and knowledge. We appreciate you. God bless. Love and light to you.
Thank you guys.
Man, thank you for rocking with the wave.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It's out.
Today's show, as always, sponsored by VASA for gear that represents the South Pacific Island languages and cultures accurately and responsibly. Put on for the culture. Catch the wave at LavasaIslandApparel.com.